well, I thought yesterday is not as nice, and now retrospectively seeing today, I quite appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, today is sort of a bleaky, now very like really wet weather. It's like a light rain or a drizzle, and but it's quite warm actually. Yesterday was pretty cold. Yesterday was pretty cold. Today is like 5-6 degrees more at the same time, you know. So yeah, but it's much more bleaky, I would say. Yeah, much more bleaky. Fortunately, no wind. I mean, that's always the worst part. If there's no wind, then everything's bearable. But if there's wind, everything becomes 10 times worse, you know. And you know, if you would know me, you would know that I'm not a great fan of the wind, you know. And I'm saying, you know, again, I'm gonna watch it this time. I'm really gonna watch it. Hold on, let me focus. Know your nose, know your nose, know your nose. Whew, okay, I can do this. So, if you would know me, that's part of a sentence. That's a vital part of the sentence. You would know still that I hate wind. Yeah, and I really do. Sometimes when it's warm and it's like a warm, pleasant breeze, you know, breeze is great, but the wind, very harsh one, when it like attacks your face and attacks you from every direction, and let alone if it's cold, oh man, I just can't stand it really. But like summer breeze, for instance, when it's very warm and there's like a breeze coming in, that's very pleasant, you know. Even stronger, I said, you know, god damn it. Even very, very mild wind, or maybe even stronger wind, is still kind of fine when it's like very warm, you know. God damn it again. See, it's crazy. It's such a, I don't know how it is for native speakers, but for me it's like such a addictive word, you know. God damn it, see? Oh my god. Whew. Yeah, it's a struggle. But at least at this point I'm really seeing it and appreciating that I'm saying it so often. I noticed it in a couple of the videos. I was listening to myself and I was, God, that's like 8, you know, in a short span of time. Maybe I should ease up on that. And I'm really trying now. I'm really like focusing on what I'm saying and trying to sort of like really think before I say something, which I usually do kinda, but that, you know, always sneaks in because it's such a sort of satisfying word to say, if that makes sense. And Drake disappeared all of a sudden. You know, I'm pretty curious what he is up to in there because he always goes that way. So let's go and find out, because that is not just about something, you know. Yeah, and here it is again. There has to be something. So what are you up to, Drake? What's going on? He's got to be up to something. What the hell? Where did he disappear off to? I saw him one moment and then, oh. So what is here, Drake? Tell me. Show me. Ah, of course. I freaking knew it. See, I called it. I freaking called it. There's gotta be something. And sure enough, Drake, have you chewed on it? God damn it. I hope you... And sure enough, look at this. Yet another dead body. Yeah, and this one is... I guess... Ooh, oh, and there's a... at first I thought this is like a... It looked like a plastic bag or like a plastic bottle, but it's actually part of the intestines. Oh my god, I hope Drake didn't chew up on any on this, because I have one crazy story which involved a lot of disgusting stuff and a lot of... Well, yeah, oof, that was really bad. But I'm gonna tell it maybe some point, sometime. But it looks pretty fresh. But Drake is diverging to this spot for some time now, like a couple of days for sure. And see, I called it. It was suspicious, man. It's every time Drake is going a certain direction every time and disappears for a moment, you know, before, and doesn't really respond very quickly to calls. You can expect something like this, you know. And here's another, you know. God damn it. I mean, you know, yeah, and another one. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to that later. This is a roe deer. I'm not sure because it's missing a head, so I'm not sure if it is if it was a what do you call it? Maybe Drake found something else. Draco, I'm gonna check that. So I'm not sure if it was a roe deer doe or a roe deer, or it's not. It doesn't look like a young one. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on deers. But it looks fairly fresh because that intestines over there, it's also, it looks like his whole, you know, its whole, like, back part is missing, and it's covered, something covered it. Almost as if something wanted to sort of hide it away from other animals, you know. A fox, maybe? And the head has been, it looks like it's been chewed off, but maybe it's been cut off. But no, it looks like chew marks, you know, I mean, that doesn't look like a clean cut. So it's been like cut off. Sorry, chewed off, I assume. But I knew it, oh my god, man, this is like, I knew it, I just knew it. And Drake, I think Drake found something else up there, because he's sniffing in there a lot. Hold on, let me check. Oh yeah, there is some there's some of the fur, and that's that. I don't see any head or anything in sight. Well, I'm glad we went and investigated, because now we know. Now we know, and now we're gonna watch Drake very closely when he diverges again this way. Draco, what's that? I'm gonna smell his muzzle. What's it? Draco, check it. Now he's guilty. Look at that. He's running away from me. Draco. I mean, it looks like a pretty fairly fresh carcass, you know. So, I mean, you know, could have been worse, you know, and if he licked it or chewed on it, I mean, you know, as long as he, because the story is that he ate some, like, very, well, it has definitely had to be old, because it smelled incredibly bad. He ate some old intestines or something somewhere, you know, that was like 2 years ago, where he couldn't resist all those things. Now he's like more, I would say, more mature and more kind of cool-headed, you know, but before he was much more sort of impulsive, and when he found that in those intestines, he disappeared for a long time. I couldn't find him, and then I found him, and no, actually I didn't find him. I actually waited at him close to the road where we live, you know, so he comes, and he came after, I don't know, 20 minutes, and you know, looking like usual, and you know, we went home, and he was lying in his bed, and I heard some noise, some like he whining or something, And I came, and his entire bed was puked over with something that looked like a Cthulhu, some fucking demon from the underworld, you know. It was like a mix of like intestines chewed on, like, oh, it was the worst. And the worst part was it smelled so freaking bad, you know. That was, and I was so mad at Drake that day. I was so mad because not only that he ruined his bed, you know, that was like, I mean, I tried to wash it away, but it smelled so freaking bad. And I took him to the bathtub. Sorry, I'm gonna smell his muzzle. Nah, it's fine. I don't smell anything. You know, I think even chewing on that meat was pretty fresh. So maybe let's chew on that. Really want to smell it. And the intestines. I mean, even the intestines look pretty fresh, to be honest. But usually when he chews on something like that, you can smell it. You know, he comes up close, you smell his muzzle, and it smells foul, you know. Or you can smell the side of his neck, and it smells foul because he bathed himself in it, you know. But he smells fine, so all good. Oh yeah, so he puked all over his bed. I took him to a bathtub. I was washing him because he smelled so bad. His entire body smelled so bad, and he was terrified of the water, and the whole experience was just a really bad day for us, for both of us. But it never happened again after this, you know. I think he learned his lesson because he ate a lot of it, you know, and it was at that time probably bad, you know, turned rancid or I don't know what, and it made him sick and he puked up. And I think it kind of sticked with him, this kind of experience, and he never, I mean, sometimes he chews on something here and there, but never again did it that way, you know. But, you know, of course, the you-knows again. Yeah. But from there on, I became suspicious, and I'm watching him more closely now. When I see he disappears somewhere into the woods, I'm always like, what is that about? See, and now it paid off. I went in there and, yep, sure enough, a dead deer. Anyways, I was talking about you-knows. So I don't know how it is for native speakers, but for me, it's such a like satisfying word, and I can't help but use it as a filler. And I don't even realize it. That's the worst part. It's like I'm talking and I don't hear it, and then I listen to myself in the recording, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've used so much you-knows. Sometimes I don't even finish the you-know between the words, and it sounds like a you know. And yeah, but I'm working on it, you know. Yeah, I'm working on it, you know. I'm working on it. I'm trying. So please bear with me as I try to reduce the amount of you-knows I'm using in sentences and work on my rhetorics. I believe if I would check my first video and I would check this one, there would be a large improvement, I hope. But I will really, from now on, try as much as I can to not use this addictive filler in my speech. And I don't know, I would love to know how native speakers have this thing. I believe they don't use you-knows as much. Probably it's because I'm not a native speaker and I just learned this word to kind of gap the space in between the words and sentences, so it kind of feels more smooth and more organic and more comfortable for me. I suppose it's sort of like a comforting word. I don't know. But I will, of course, it's not that I'm not going to use any you-knows. I think sometimes you-know is a good word, sort of like an reassuring and confirming. I don't know, after a sentence you say, you know, which is good. But if you use 4 or 5 you knows in 2 sentences, that's when you know you got a problem. That's when you know you have to visit you knows Anonymous, you know, like a little gathering where people talk about their usage, their overuse of you knows. But that was an interesting find there, yeah. And second in a row. Yesterday we found a dead goose. Today we found a dead deer. And you know, that's how it goes. That's nature. That's life. And we do find a lot of dead animals and bones and skeletons and all that, because we take routes and paths that are, you know, less. There are even either no frequented by people at all, or less frequented, or we even take, you know, as you saw multiple times, we take paths that are not even paths. You know, we just go straight through the woods to places where, you know, where people just don't go, and only animals do go, and that's where the animals usually, you know, live their life and feed and procreate and die, and unless it's an accident and then the deer is hit by a car and it died by the side of the road. If it's sick or, you know, injured, or it's dying, it's gonna go and die somewhere in the depth of the forest, of course, not by the side of the road. You know, it's gonna go into somewhere it's quiet, where it feels safe, and that was one of those places. So yeah, and it looked really fresh, but I feel like Drake was going that direction in the past few days. He always kind of went there, and I called him and he came back, if you remember from those videos. So I think that deer had been there at least a week, although it looks very fresh. But I mean, given the temperatures, that kind of makes sense. If this would happen in summer, then a couple of days and, you know, the carcass would already be swarming and flies and maggots, and it would stink a lot, you know, and all that. But with these temperatures, it's like in a fridge, refrigerated essentially. So the meat still looks fresh, and most likely when you see those cover marks, might have been from a fox. Maybe it's actually fox keeps it there as a sort of like a food storage of sorts, and maybe try to cover the tracks so it doesn't attract more foxes or more animals that would take her prized deer, you know. Might have been the case. But yeah, that was an interesting find today. And again, thanks to Drake, I would never find, I mean, not never, maybe if I would forage for mushrooms and I would come across it, but those are the things and experiences I would never experience without Drake, because I don't have this acute sense of smell. Sometimes, of course, when the carcass is incredibly like in a very far stage of decomposition, you know, and it's decomposed, then it smells a lot, and then it can hit you from 550 meters away. But otherwise, you're not going to come across these things unless you have a furry friend like I have Drake here, who has a very acute sense of smell, and they just know from afar, and they go and investigate, and you go and investigate, and you see it and experience all those things. So many things would have happened without Drake, really, on these walks, because I do have a great sense of hearing, and I can hear birds and stuff and all that, but all those little hidden things away from the sight, you know, that would never be possible to see without Drake, who finds it out like a true dog detective. Yeah, we're like Sherlock and Watson, Drakeson, yeah, something like that. But by the way, I talked about the spider webs the last video, and I told you about the poem I written, and I did a little digging, and I did find it. After all, I had a little trouble finding it. I was like, did I not save it? But I found it, and I have it actually, so I can read it up to you. and it was written in Indian summer. It was October, the time when it's getting colder. It's like, you know, autumn, but still kind of feels like summer sometimes. But you have these like very misty, foggy mornings, and that's where the spider webs were all laid bare and all made visible. And not only those, but also those that fly in the air. That's the Indian summer, right? When it's like, when all those spiders are traveling through the air on their spider webs, and it's all up in the air. So that was that morning, and it was very magical and really inspired me. And as I was walking, I was actually thinking about the verses. And then as soon as I came back home, I written it down, you know, and kind of finished it. And so I have it, and I'm gonna read it to you. Hold on a sec. So now, sorry, I gotta sniff now to clean my nose. Okay, so here it goes. Elusive spider webs in the thick of mist, for our eyes laid bare, floating in the air, ethereal, like souls from the afterlife, apparitions from another world, inlaid with pearls of the morning dew, shown only to the fortunate few, and I, being one of them, observe, inspired, knowing that one misty day my own soul will be among them, to be seen and admired. So that was that. And I messed up the word apparitions. I think it's apparitions, written apparitions, but it's a kind of tough nut to crack in terms of pronunciation for a non-native speaker, at least for me, that is. But yeah, that was the poem. And I kind of like the idea, you know, that spider webs are like souls from the afterlife, and that, you know, they serve as webs for spiders, but they're like the keepers of those souls, and that, you know, those souls like reappear these like in those rare moments and instances in the morning when there's foggy, misty weather. And then all those flying sort of webs and all those, you know, beautiful patterns you see, like that, those are all parts of, or maybe shards of, like all different souls from the past, you know. It was just an idea of like that kind of crossed my mind, and I was like, this is very poetic. So that's how this poem was created. Yeah. So that was today's walk, and yeah, I think I'm gonna sign off now because we're close to the road, and you know, there's some noise from cars because it's like Tuesday morning and people are fired up. So I'm gonna just walk around this corner, and I'm gonna sign off here. See you tomorrow.